What's going on, guys? Baseball Banter has made its triumphant return. Yes, it's been 3 weeks since I've done this. As you'll notice, I'm flying solo today. My buddy, my brother from another mother, kid with the golden locks, Mike Hewitt, is not with me today. He's at a family event, and Mike has actually been traveling the last couple of weeks with a family. Lucky bastard got to go out on the West Coast and see the Red Sox lose to the A's. He got to go to that O.Go Coliseum. Then he went to San Francisco to watch the Giants play, and then he went to Seattle to check out the Mariners, watching the Mariners beat the Red Sox. So yeah, it's just flying solo today, just me, and we got a lot to cover. Going to be talking about the All-Star Game selections, talking about some snubs, and I'm going to be talking about the A's Cubs trade that sent Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill over to the A's, and about the Cubs farm system. So a lot to touch on today. Basically, just those two topics should get us through the bulk of this. So without further ado, let's start off with the All-Star Game. Today, the All-Star teams were announced on ESPN, and some snubs, some disagreements. Let's jump right onto it. The starting outfield for the American League, or starting squad, I should say, is Jose Bautista, who is the leading vote getter somehow. I don't get how. I know Jose Bautista is having a good year, but I don't get how he was the leading vote getter for the second time in his career, because he was actually the leading vote getter in 2011 or 12. I can't remember. Whatever year, 2012, the year that the All-Star Game was in Arizona. Mike Trout, Adam Jones, Miguel Cabrera will play first, Robinson Cano at second, Josh Donaldson at third, Derek Jeter at short, and then Matt Wieters will be behind the dish, and then Nelly Cruz will be your starting DH. Now, here's where my snubs start to get in, and where I think people should have been starting. First off, I don't care how good Nelson Cruz is, he should not be the starting DH over my man Victor Martinez. Although Victor Martinez is on the All-Star team. Let me yank up this stat here that I want to get to show you guys. Victor Martinez right here. All right, here we go. Here's why Victor Martinez should be starting at DH over Nelly Cruz. First off, Victor Martinez led the league in hitting for a good chunk of the year. And we're going to get on to Jose Altuve here in a second, too. Victor Martinez is hitting 328 with a 391 OBP, a 599 slugging percentage, and a 991 OPS with 21 homers and 55 RBIs. Nelson Cruz has 27 homers and 70 RBIs, yes, leading the AL on both, but he's hitting 286, a lot lower than VMART. His OBP is at 353 to VMART's nearly 400. His slugging is at 581. So Victor Martinez, a guy who has less homers than Nelson Cruz, has a higher slugging percentage than Nelson Cruz. And his OPS is at 934. Victor's is nearly at 1,000. His OPS plus is at 155 to VMART's 166. VMART destroys him in average, in slugging, in on base, in OPS, in weighted runs created. It's not even close. I don't care that Nelson Cruz has more home runs than RBIs. Big deal. He's knocking in guys in front of him with the long ball. That's essentially it. He's been great. But the fans got this one wrong. Victor Martinez doing it from both sides of the plate, hitting over 300 from both sides of the plate, should be over Nelson Cruz and starting DH spot. Now, you can't cry over spilt milk too much because Victor Martinez is in the All-Star game. My next bone I got to pick. Jose Altuve should be starting over Robinson Cano. Robinson Cano, I know his average isn't better, or Jose Altuve is beating him in average. Cano's hitting 323, 383, 447 for the slash. Altuve's leading the AL in hitting at 338. He's got a 378 on base to Cano's 383, so essentially almost the same thing. And then sees Altuve slugging 439 to Cano's 447, so they're essentially pretty close in power as well. On top of Jose Altuve is playing just as good a defense as Robinson Cano is. On top of, he may only have, 27 RBIs, 26 RBIs to Cano's 51. Well, Altuve also has 37 stolen bases, which is the leading in the American League. So it's a wash. He's getting on base. He's creating runs. He's stealing bases. He's getting on base at almost the same clip. He's slugging almost at the same clip. He's stealing bags, playing just as good as defense, if not better defense as Cano. There's no reason why Robbie Cano should be starting over Jose Altuve at second base in this game. Also, Matt Wieters somehow, who's out for the year for Tommy John surgery, was voted as a starter in this game. He's been out of for over a month now, over a month and a half. He's been hasn't played. So Salvi Perez will be taking his spot. So I like Salvi Perez. I got nothing to say here. There's really no other offensive catchers that are deserving more than him. Derek Jeter starts. It was expected. Come on now. And besides Derek Jeter, there's only two other shortstops having above average offensive years, which is Alcides Escobar and Eric Ibar. So you weren't even I know Alexi Ramirez had a really good first couple months, but you knew he wasn't going to start over Derek Jeter because it's Derek Jeter's last year, surefire Hall of Famer. That's like an 0-1 when Cal Ripken and Gwynn were going out at the same time. You knew they were going to start. So that's your starters. Your pitchers are Yu Darvish, Mad Max. Surprisingly, I know Max Scherzer's had a really good year and whatnot, but he's not having the year he had last year, and I don't know. I was just kind of perplexed by that one, especially with Chris Sale and Garrett Richards having as good as years as they are, and Mad Max. I mean, I'm not saying he's not deserving because he does have a lot of strikeouts. His ERA is about I think 3.30 something. But with Garrett Richards having the year he's having, and with Chris Sale having the year he's having, I don't know, man. That's kind of a toss-up. King Felix, without a question, deserves to be there. He's probably your starter. Masahiro Tanaka, absolutely been dominant this year. Johnny Lester, David Price, Scott Kazmir, Mark Burley, Sean Doolittle, Greg Holland, Greg Perkins, and Dylan Betances round out. And Betances has been absolutely awesome this year. That dude is a strikeout machine. He's been absolutely amazing for the Yankees. Salvi Perez was one of the reserves, and he will take over for Matt Wieters. Jose Abreu will be the backup first baseman. I was going to say this was a snub if he didn't make that because Abreu, man, almost 30 bombs at the break. The dude has been awesome. V-Mart, Yoenis Cespedes, he was in the All-Star game last year, but not as a starter, just as a guy who participated in the home run derby. Edwin Encarnacion made it. Who knows? He does have a quad injury right now, so he might not be starting. Might not be playing. Jose Altuve, Derek Norris, Kurt Suzuki, Adrian Beltre. And by the way, Josh Donaldson and Adrian Beltre, if you go and look at Adrian Beltre's stats, Adrian Beltre has Donaldson in OPS by a couple hundred points. He has him in on base. He has him in average. He has him in slugging. The only thing that Josh Donaldson has more of is he's had a better glove this year and more homers and RBIs. But homers and RBIs aren't the be-all, end-all. I'm sorry. You look at the average slug on base, OPS, OPS plus, Adrian Beltre has been a lot better than Josh Donaldson has this year. Now, I do agree that Josh Donaldson, should have been a starter last year at third, or at least on the team. But Miggy Cabrera was still a third last year, so it's kind of hard for him, so he got screwed. But at least Beltre made it, and but he should be the starter over Donaldson. I'm sorry. Alexi Ramirez is a reserve, and then you got Brandon Moss, and then Alex Gordon, and then Michael Brantley round out the AL reserves. So there's some snubs. Chris Sale, Garrett Richards for sure. Jose Altuve should be over Cano. V-Mart should be over Nelson Cruz. I mean, it is what it is. It's a fan vote. That's what I hate about the All-Star game is, like, you have players that are clear-cut better players than other players. And it's a fan vote, so it's all popularity contest. So the best players don't always get in, which makes the point of, since the best players don't always get in, why should these games count? Why? But they do count because Bud Selig wants people to watch the All-Star game. So, and if you didn't let the fans vote, which they actually didn't do for a couple of times in All-Star game history, but the ratings started to take a big hit because people weren't watching it because they were all player selected. But what are you going to do? Not even the players always get it right either. So, here's the National League starting squad. Paul Goldschmidt is your starting first baseman. Torey Tulowitzki is your starting shortstop. Chase Utley, he's having a great bounce back year this year. I really like Chase Utley. Aramis Ramirez is at third. Andrew McCutchen is making his debut as a starting outfielder for the National League, and that blew my mind. I've never realized this before. He's been a four-time All-Star. Was his fourth All-Star selection? This is his first time starting, which is nuts considering he won the damn NL MVP last year. So, blew my mind. Carlos Gomez and Yasiel Puig, or Puigi, as I like to call him. He will be manning outfield, so all you Dodger fans last year who he played after he played 2 weeks are like, Yasiel Puig needs to be an all-star. He's only had 35 at-bats, and he's, amazingly God. Well, there you go. He's in your All-Star game this year. And then Yachty over Jonathan Lucroy as your starter. Now, there was a lot of controversy about this one because the Brewers made a campaign ad against Yadier Molina for their fans, like a political ad. You know, it's nothing too bad. But the ad wasn't really great, to be honest with you. They're like, one of their lines was like, "Do you really want another St. Louis Cardinal in the All-Star game? Vote for Jonathan Lucroy." You know, it was stupid, but they do have a point why Jonathan Lucroy should be starting over Yadier Molina. Lucroy is by far the best offensive catcher in the big leagues this year. He's hitting .333 with a .402 on base and a .522 slugging and an OPS of .924. To Yadi's .294, not bad. .347, not bad, and .416 slugging percent to complete a slash with a .763 OPS. I'm sorry, he's almost out OPSing him by 200 points. His average is, 37 points higher. He's got 9 homers and 44 RBIs to Yachty's 7 and 30. I mean, Yachty has 15 doubles to Lucroy's 30 already. I mean, like I said about the popularity contest, this is exactly what it is. The epitome of a popularity contest, and I'm not trying to take away from Yadier Molina. He's by far the best catcher in the game overall, from the position of catching, receiving, handling a pitching staff. What he does bring with the stick, I mean, he is by far the best. I mean, Lucroy is here and Yachty's here. But as for first half, should have been the starter in the All-Star game, it should have been Jonathan Lucroy. Let's be honest here. He got snubbed a little bit. And then your pitching, Johnny Cueto, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, Madison Bumgarner, Adam Wainwright, Jordan Zimmerman, Julio Teheran, Craig Kimbrell, Tyson Ross, Aroldis Chapman, K-Rod. What a good bounce-back story he's been, man. He went from being really crap with the Mets to looking like the old K-Rod with the Angels. Watson from the Pirates, and then Pat Neshek. Great story. That guy bounced around a lot, and for him to be on the All-Star team, he's a nice guy, too. Awesome. So, here's the reserves. The artist formerly known as Mike Stanton, Giancarlo, Jonathan Lucroy, D. Gordon of all people. This guy a couple years ago was absolutely awesome. He was a good shortstop. And then they ended up getting sent down to the minors. And then this year he's hitting over 300, has I think 42 or 43 stolen bases. He's on my fantasy squad. He's been absolutely outstanding at second this year. Freddie Freeman, Starlin Castro, man, didn't have a good year last year, but he's done absolutely great work this year for the Cubs at shortstop. He's hitting for a bit of power this year too. The Todd father, Todd Frazier, made his first All-Star game appearance, and I've had him on my fantasy squad all year, so he's been absolutely outstanding. Charlie Blackmon cooled off some. Not like he was at the start of the first month of the season. He was absolutely outstanding his first month, but he still had a good year. First All-Star game. Hunter Pence. Devin Mesoraco, absolutely studly this year behind the dish. He hit 400 for a while. He was on the DL for a little bit. He had some, I think he had a side or a knee problem this year, but I know he's missed some time because he was on my fantasy team. But Mesoraco, he's had an outstanding year behind the plate. And this is the kind of player, the Reds thought they were getting a few years ago when they drafted him. He came up and he didn't really do much, and now this year he's really broke out. Daniel Murphy, Josh Harrison, and Matt Carpenter round up the reserves. And, for snubs for the NL, I mean, I don't know how Giancarlo Stanton's not the starter in the outfield. I mean, I know that you got Gomez and Yasiel Puig and Andrew McCutchen, but I'm taking Giancarlo Stanton over Carlos Gomez. I'm sorry. I mean, the year that Stanton's had, I just think he's had a better year than Gomez as a starter. I mean, he's on the team regardless. Josh Harrison, I know he's been very versatile. He gives you speed off the bench. That's probably a reason why he's taken as a reserve. He can play all over the place, infield, outfield. But what about a guy like Anthony Rendon, who's been absolutely outstanding for the Washington Nationals this year? I mean, you snub a guy like that who's been absolutely awesome too. So, I mean, not too much on the NL side I can complain about, but there is definitely some snubs on there. And then on the AL side, Ricky P didn't make it, even though I think the Tigers are losing 3-0 right now in the first. Rick Porcello had 25 consecutive scoreless innings after 2 back-to-back complete game shutouts, which has been erased very quickly here in the first inning, as you can see in the background. So, he's actually a Final Five vote. I actually didn't get the Final Five vote for the National League, but there's a good chance he might get in. Ricky Peace had a good year this year. No Justin Verlander this year. Last year he was brought on just because of Jim Leyland was the manager of it, so he got pulled on there, and he probably really wasn't deserving of a spot. But nonetheless, and looking at the teams who has the advantage, man, both these absolutely outstanding. I think the NL has I want to say the NL has the advantage in pitching because they got guys like Cueto, Kershaw, Greinke, Adam Wainwright. But I mean, you look at you, Darvish, King Felix, Tanaka, Lester Price. I mean, that's like a deadlock. I mean, you can't go wrong with either one. I mean, that's a push. But you look at the lineup. I think that from a starting standpoint, I think that the AL has a better starting 9 or starting 8, I should say. For the positions, not including DH. I mean, you got Bautista, Mike Trout, Adam Jones, Miggy, Cano, Josh Donaldson. Even with Nelson Cruz in there, going up against Goldie, Tulo, Utley, Aramis Ramirez, Kutch, Gomez, Puig, and Yachty. I mean, with just any time Miguel Cabrera and Mike Trout and Jose Bautista are in a lineup together, I mean, that's better than National League starting lineup. I'm sorry, it is. I mean, they're a deeper offensive squad. I would say if I had a gun to my head and to pick between the National League and the AL starting rotation or starting pitching, I would go with the National League just because of Kershaw and Adam Wainwright. Those two guys have been absolutely awesome this year. So I'd say that the NL or the AL has the advantage from an offensive standpoint. The NL has the advantage from a pitching standpoint. For reserve, I think by far that the AL's reserves are stronger with Abreu and Victor Martinez. I think their reserves are a bit stronger. Actually, no, I lied. I think the NL's reserves are a bit stronger with Stanton, Lucroy, D. Gordon, and Freddie Freeman Castro and Todd Frazier. I think theirs is a bit deeper than the AL. So you know something? I'm going bold here. I'm saying the National League comes in and they're going to win it again this year. I think their pitching's a bit better. I don't think their starting 9 is as good as the AL's, but I think their pitching's better, and I think their reserves are better. So I'm going to go with the National League to win it this year. So, there were some snubs. What are you going to do about it? A lot of good players on there. The pitching is just so stacked. I'm so excited. I hope Clayton Kershaw starts it so I can see Miggy up against Clayton Kershaw. Or it's just be so damn awesome. If they either go, I'm guessing that for the AL, it's going to be either Tanaka or King Felix getting the nod as the starter for the AL. Jeff Samardzija was actually voted in as a player too, but since he was voted in as a Cub starting pitcher, since he was voted in as a Cub, he will be honored as an All-Star, but he will be deemed ineligible to play in the All-Star game because he was traded to the A's, so he cannot participate as a member of the Oakland Athletics because of the fact that he was voted in as a Cub. So red tape all over the place with that one. So good, perfect segue to go to this one. We're going to talk about the big trade, the first big trade of the year. Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill were traded from the Chicago Cubs to the A's in exchange for Addison Russell, Billy McKinney, and Dan Straley. And this was an absolutely huge move. Billy Beane this year, he lost Jared Parker, he lost A.J. Griffin, and he's been doing patchwork on the back end of that rotation. Casimir's done absolutely great work. Sonny Gray's done absolutely great work. They got Brad Mills for nothing. Jesse Chavez has done great work. They had Drew Pomeranz, who was pitching really good until he broke his hand like a moron punching a chair. And they needed another starter. What did they do? Jason Hamill was having a great year with the Cubs. And it's Samardzija, who made his A's debut today, has been pitching absolutely great. He had a good year last year. He's been absolutely dominating again this year, just getting absolutely no run support from the Cubs whatsoever. And it was an absolutely huge move. And Justin Verlander actually went on record to saying that he thinks that trade was made because of the sweep that the Tigers had over the A's, which I could find very true. Because you think about this, the American League this year is really not that great. I mean, there's a couple good teams. You got the Angels who are having a good year. You got the A's, who I think are the clear-cut best team in baseball right now. And then you got the Tigers. And then the American League East, you got the Blue Jays and Orioles kind of fighting back and forth for first place over there. But I don't view them as a threat as much as the Angels or the Tigers would be to the A's. And I think with the way the Tigers have bounced the Athletics 3 times in the last 7 years, in 06, 12, and last year, that Billy Beane was really looking to go, look, I got this team assembled right now, when I got a lot of near-coming arbitration-eligible guys about to get pay raises, and some near-coming free agents that are about to leave, and we have a team right now that's won a lot over the last few years, and I have a potential to do something right now. Why not go out and make the move? And the Cubs the last few off seasons the last couple of trading deadlines have done nothing but deal starters. They dealt Matt Garza last year, example. And to the Rangers, and they ended up getting Grimm and Mike Holt out of that. And both those guys have been contributors to the Cubs this year, for example. That's been kind of their MO the last couple off seasons, dealing starters. So this move, man, really, really bolsters the A's. And, we got all these Tiger fans here in Michigan, still saying, well, it doesn't scare me. The Tigers are still a better team. Maybe from an offensive standpoint, sure. Just because you got Miggy, JD Martinez has done good work, but are they a better team than the A's? I know how good Anibal Sanchez has been. Justin Verlander is still trying to figure it out. He's been a bit more consistent as of late. Rick Porcello's been absolutely outstanding. Mad Max is good. Drew Smiley's been up and down. But I'm sorry, man. It's just with Gray and Samardzija and Hamels, and then you got Chavez, and then they just have so much pitching depth. The A's are better than the Tigers. They really, really are. The back end of that bullpen is absolutely outstanding with Otero, Doolittle, Luke Gregerson. I mean, it's Abad. I mean, they're just absolutely night and day better than the Tigers in the back end of their spot. The Tigers, luckily, Chamberlain's done good work, and Nathan, for the most part, he's been really up and down this year. And then it's not close for the bullpen. And you look at their offenses. I mean, the Tigers' offense, if I had to pick an offense that I would roll with, the Tigers or the A's, I mean, it's not as clear-cut as it would be. Last year you had Prince Fielder and Torrey Hunter doing what he was doing, and then Victor Martinez back there. I mean, it is close because, Brandon Moss, Yoenis Cespedes, Coco Crisp, Derek Norris, he made an all-star team this year. He's had a good year. Donaldson's been up and down, but he's got some pop. I mean, it's not clear-cut and dry. I mean, I would probably still take the Tigers, call me a little bit biased, but you look at the starting rotation, Verlander hasn't been Verlander over the last couple of years. Scherzer's been up and down his last, month or so, even though he has been a bit more consistent as late. Anibal Sanchez has been, the best starter. Rick Porcello's done good work, but it's not clear cut and dry. And I think that if the Tigers were to face the Oakland Athletics right now in a playoff series, that the A's would legitimately win, and it's because of this move. Because you added a Samardzija and a Hamill to go along with the Sonny Gray. And just think about this: Hamill's going to be gone after this year. He's going to just be a run alarm for this half season to fill rotation depth. Now they're going to have Gray, they're going to have Samardzija, they're going to have Griffin, they're going to have Parker. That rotation is going to be even better next year with those guys in there, and it's already a really good one this year, on top of having a lights-out bullpen, on top of having a very good offensive lineup. I mean, the A's are the best team, and this move, a lot of times, a manager or GMs are chastised for getting rid of someone of like Addison Russell's caliber. He's a top 10 prospect in almost every prospect list you could look at. Baseball Prospectus, Baseball America, MLB.com. I mean, he's a really highly thought-of prospect. But this move, I mean, with the A's window and the A's opportunity that they have, being by far the clear-cut team in the big leagues, it's an outstanding move. So, and then you look at the Cubs. The Cubs, man, you look at them and go, well, they dealt some more starters, they're hurting the rotation depth, they dealt 2/4 or 2/5 of their rotation, their two best pitchers. You look at that. But you look at how much deeper their farm system got, which is already good, a really, really good farm system. I mean, you got Baez, who's already a shortstop. You got, I forget how you say his name, Alcantara, I think is how you say his name, who is, he's been hitting pretty good. He's a shortstop prospect. He's been having a great year. And then you got Castro at the major league level having a great year. And you got a plethora of shortstop depth. And you could easily go ahead and go, okay, you could have got Addison Russell, and you go, all right, well, we do need some pitching now. We got three shortstops, Baez, Castro, and Alcantara. And Russell. We could easily go, boom, flip one of these guys, get some starting pitching depth when they're closer. I mean, say 2 years from now they're right on the doorstep of being really competitive, and they need some extra starting depth, and they have, they need to have a blue chip prospect like an Addison Russell. Boom, flop them. You got your starting pitching right there. And then they still got Chris Bryant, and they still got Sawyer down there. They still got Amonte down there. I mean, they have a really deep farm system. So you're looking to go, oh, man, just more Cubs, GM management just flipping off more, starting pieces, still getting farther away from winning. But no, really, I mean, they have a lot of pieces in place right now. You look at their starting, they're between the minors and the starting lineup right now they put on the field every single day, with your Anthony Rizzos, your Starlin Castros, two chips like that. Your Junior Lakes out there. I mean, they have some pieces in place that they're going to be a good team. And then when you get your Chris Bryant's up here and your Sawyer's, and then you got Baez, and you got Starlin Castro, and then you got Addison Russell. I mean, you have some really, really nice pieces that they have put in place to help the Cubs become a competitive team. I mean, sure, it seems like every year they're shipping off starters, and it looks like they're getting farther away, but the players they have brought back, the way Theo Epstein's come into Chicago, cleared out some of the bad contracts like Carlos Zambrano and Derek Lee and Ryan Dempster, and shed some of those bad contracts and really rebuild that farm system from scratch and get, a lot of pieces like Justin Grimm and Mike Holt, for example, from guys like Matt Garza, people they weren't going to resign, has been really good. I mean, and sure, this rebuilding process is taking a lot longer than Cubs fans would wanted, but right now they have a lot of farm system depth, and they could easily flop one of their shortstops that they don't want anymore for some starting pitching depth or other positional needs that they need right now. So absolutely outstanding trade, I think, from both sides. The A's they know they have the team right now that they could win. They know they need to overtake the Tigers in the American League and finally in the playoffs because they're sick of getting bounced in the first round every year. And they get two absolutely outstanding starters, going to help bolster rotation. They had a lot of no ones in the back end, like Tommy Malone and Brad Mills and Chavez. Now they got some legitimacy there, and then you get the more depth in the Cubs farm system with really, really good prospects. Addison Russell's an outstanding prospect. I saw him play a lot in the Arizona Fall League. So great trade all the way around. I mean, there's not much here to not like about it. And Dan Straley, he was a throw, and he's has a lot of potential too. And there's still a player to be named later. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Hopefully next week Mike Hewitt will be back with me. So All-Star Snubs, talked about the trade a little bit. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll be back to making these every single week. So have a good one, guys.